Well. That's got to be one of the most whirlwind 24 hours you're going to be seeing from Manchester United this season. When we went live yesterday morning, it was a drab and dreary atmosphere. I spoke about how I felt like it was probably game over for Eric Ten Hag, and I was preparing my video for the afternoon when the news came out from the club that Eric Ten Hag had been sacked. Following on from that news, in that same announcement, Ruud van Nistelrooy was announced as interim manager. We didn't know how long for. We had a conversation about that. And then only a few hours after, David Ornstein confirmed that Manchester United were pushing to sign Ruben Amorim. And we can follow on from that this morning because the deal is close. He's agreed to join Manchester United and become the new manager. What I've got to do today is run through a lot of stuff. So please try and be nice to me because I've done as much research as I possibly can. We're going to run through Ruben Amorim. We're going to have a conversation around probably the 5 main reasons I think why Manchester United have pushed so aggressively and so quickly for Ruben Amorim. I'll run through those. We'll have a little conversation about Eric Ten Hag and the goodbye messages from lots of players yesterday. We'll have a little brief conversation about Ruud van Nistelrooy. At lunchtime today, there's going to be a more in-depth video on Ruben Amorim. Then later on today, we'll do a tactical video on Amorim. And tomorrow, we're going to be taking a look at Ruud van Nistelrooy's first starting 11 as Manchester United manager. Please get your comments in. I will try and interact with as many of you as I possibly can. I've no doubt it's going to be a busy show here today. Good morning to Carl, to Josh, to Ant, to all the other mods in the comments as well. Matt Bird, Alfie, good morning to you. Abdullah, Imran, Don Savage, Joey on Facebook. We've got Hendricks, we've got Chris. We've got lots of regulars tuning in. And no doubt there'll be lots of new faces as well. I will try and cover as much of the news as I possibly can. Let's get this show on the road. And the first thing I want to quickly mention has absolutely nothing to do with that. Congratulations to Kobe Mainoo, who was named ranked 3rd in the Copper Trophy, the Ballon d'Or for younger players. Lamine Yamal, of course, won it, as he absolutely should. I reckon Mainoo could have been second there. Is that Gula from Real Madrid? Either way, Mainoo is in the top 3. So congratulations to him. And I tell you what, Mainoo's going to be excited about what could happen under Ruben Amorim. And we can go down here in the comments, and people are asking, Sam, is the story true? Let's run through it, all right? This is what happened yesterday. What was this, about 6:30? 20 past 6. David Ornstein came out of nowhere with the news that Manchester United are working on a deal to appoint Ruben Amorim. Now, that's been followed up today with this update, all right? Ruben Amorim has given, this is Fabrizio Romano, he's given the thumbs up, he's given the green light to joining Manchester United. Amorim wants the move. He's accepted the project, he's spoken to INEOS. And you know what happened yesterday? In the live show, we had a long conversation around how I felt that Ruud van Nistelrooy would likely be Manchester United's interim manager for at least a few months. I said I'd be surprised if Manchester United, if there was any sort of major movement or news before January. And the reason I said that was because I was under the premise that I suppose Manchester United were going to be making the moves for a new manager after announcing that Eric Ten Hag has been sacked. Whereas what we've now seen and what we've now found out is that INEOS have been working on this behind the scenes, and we don't know how long for. I've seen separate reports suggesting that Dave Brailsford met Ruben Amorim last week. We don't know that. That's just speculation. But what isn't speculation is that United clearly have had a plan and clearly have just executed it swiftly here. Now, you might say that it wasn't swiftly enough that they sacked Eric Ten Hag, but we're not focusing on that right now. We're focusing on the fact that within 12 hours of Eric Ten Hag being sacked, United are close to finalising a deal for Amorim. Fabrizio here saying, look, Amorim respects Sporting Lisbon. It all just depends on the club-to-club negotiations. And again, Fabrizio is repeating what was reported by David Ornstein yesterday, that the release clause for Ruben Amorim for, I believe, elite clubs like Real Madrid, Liverpool, United, City, the top level clubs, is 10 million euros. Separate reports from Portuguese media yesterday suggested that that release clause was actually 20 million euros. But now the Portuguese press are reporting that it's an imminent deal, and it could well be that, geez, who knows? Maybe even today, you could get an announcement that Manchester United have agreed a deal to bring in Ruben Amorim, and bring in Ruben Amorim pretty much immediately. I would put it in the comments, right? Because it very much looks like Amorim's going to be our next manager, and we're going to have a little conversation, a little bit of a deeper chat about him just in a second. What game would you expect him to become Manchester United manager for? Do you expect him to be in for the Chelsea game? I don't personally think so. In my opinion, I think they would give Ruud van Nistelrooy 4 games and then bring Amorim in after the international break. Chelsea's going to be the hardest of the 4 games, of course, but that's on Sunday. I might be wrong. You may well get him in straight away. Let me see what you're saying in the comments here. I can see is it Halftime Oranges and Jack. Thank you very much, both of you guys. Gifting 5 memberships to the community. Get involved. All of you get into the Discord as always. Yep, Sporting are playing tonight, I believe, at 8:15. They've got a League Cup game. Lily, you think it's after Chelsea. Finn, you think it's Ipswich. That would be my prediction, but I predicted that nothing would happen before January, so what do I know? Akash, I'm going to be speaking briefly about the tactics quite soon, but I'm going to save that full conversation for a video a little bit later on so I can just continue to do more research before I try to speak about it with you. And you think you don't see him until late November. My personal opinion is Ipswich. We'll see. We will see. Would Amorim be prepared to work with Ruud van Nistelrooy? I don't think so. I wouldn't if I was Amorim. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. Typically, of course, when new managers come in, they bring their staff with them. We know that, right? But Amorim, he wants to join United. And Ruben Amorim joining a top-level club was an inevitability, right? It really was, and I'd explain why. If that release clause is 10 million euros, I can't imagine it's going to be too much of a negotiation. It will probably be down to payment terms, how much is paid up front. But the Portuguese press are reporting that a deal is imminent, and it could well happen very soon. Now, this is Ruben Amorim speaking yesterday ahead of Sporting Lisbon's Cup game, and he was asked, of course, about his future.
Eu já estava à espera dessa e obviamente eu não vou falar do meu futuro. Não vou falar do meu futuro, porque se disser uma coisa que não ou que sim, vou ter que sempre comentar. Desde o primeiro dia eu disse-vos, não vale a pena perguntarem, não vou comentar o meu futuro. Portanto, não vou comentar o meu futuro. Mas para si é um orgulho estar associado a estes clubes, ou o único objetivo neste momento de Ruben Amorim é terminar a época no Sporting e ganhar títulos no Sporting? Eu tenho muito orgulho em ser treinador do Sporting apenas.
Obviously. Ruben Amorim pushing away the reports, well, people trying to get a little bit, are you joining Manchester United? Are you joining Manchester United? But I think we're going to find out sooner rather than later. Now, what's your opinions on Ruben Amorim? We spoke about this in the live show that happened yesterday, but we can speak about it in a bit more detail today before I then run through what I would consider 5 kind of fundamental reasons as to why he's clearly Manchester United's top choice. Alex, you're saying, which players do you think will not adapt to his style of play? There should be a video coming out. Hopefully, we're aiming for 6 p.m. tonight. How Manchester United could line up and will line up under Ruben Amorim. We'll speak about the formation and the style that happened at Sporting Lisbon, how that can apply to Manchester United, what players will really thrive in that system, and where the weaknesses are in the current squad, and probably where the transfer focus will go next. That's going to be coming out a little bit later today. He does speak English very well, James. Let me see if I can find this video for you. 1 second here. I should have found it earlier. But no, Ruben Amorim, communication-wise, is not actually going to be an issue whatsoever. Matt, you're saying, I'm lost. Why is he top choice? I'll explain in a little bit. Akash is saying, I feel Amorim will get extra protection from player power, being INEOS' choice. He's somebody who has an excellent reputation for what he's done at Sporting Lisbon. Now, let me run through what I consider 5 really important fundamentals as to why Amorim clearly has been chosen by INEOS as the top choice, as the first choice. And I'll quickly, can I say this as well? When it comes to INEOS, I know that there's been a lot of frustrations over the decision to A, not sack Eric Ten Hag in the summer, and B, to wait this long this season. Now, this is, for a lot of you, this isn't hindsight because you wanted him sacked in the summer. My opinion was that I wanted to see Eric Ten Hag given the opportunity to work in a football structure and to see if that development can come. And it didn't come. So Ten Hag was correctly sacked. But I thought it was the correct decision. Now, could we have got Amorim in the summer? Well, remember, of course, and that's why it's number one on this list, reputation. Ruben Amorim was going to become the Liverpool manager. Ruben Amorim was lined up as a potential successor to Pep Guardiola at Manchester City. All right? The fact that Liverpool lined him up as a potential Klopp replacement, the fact that City could line him up as a potential Guardiola replacement, it kind of tells you what you need to know about his reputation. This isn't just Manchester United panicking and Manchester United sacking Eric Ten Hag and thinking, oh, what manager can we possibly get? I'll just go and get him. It feels like INEOS have been doing a lot of research in the background and they have chosen him for a lot of reasons. But reputation-wise, he's certainly got a strong one. Rex, you're saying Amorim's a talented coach, and I'm sure INEOS have done their homework, but so was Ten Hag when he came in. I can't get too excited right now, and I'm too jaded. Now, there's something I want to tell you here quickly, and this is actually and I can only speak about myself personally. I could, and I will, I'll speak about the reputation. I'll speak about his tactics, and also a little bit of tactical flexibility that he has, the 3-4-3 system, and I'm excited about that. But I agree with some of the comments down there. And you know what I'm going to be actually focusing on, probably more so than the tactics, is about the man rather than the manager. I'm going to be looking into far more about his personality, his communication, how he speaks with players, how he works with players, because yeah, I think a lot of you are correct in the comments down there when you're saying, well, when Eric Ten Hag was brought in, so much of what we're seeing and hearing about Amorim, there were parallels. And I agree with that. But I think there's other areas, I think, where excitement is due. And I'll explain that. Now, in terms of how good he is as a coach, now here's one thing that will definitely, I think, put a smile on your face. All right? Ruben Amorim, you're looking at Sporting Lisbon now. Sporting Lisbon is one of the biggest clubs in the Portuguese league. You've got Benfica, you've got Porto, and you've got Sporting Lisbon. So all three of those are the three main biggest clubs. But I think it was 2 years before Ruben Amorim was appointed. And that was when there was a massive pitch invasion, a huge fight, ultras. Sporting Lisbon were at the lowest of the lows, right? When he came in as manager. Now, let me pull this little chart up here from The Athletic this morning, which is a fantastic little bit of insight to show you exactly what I'm talking about in terms of how he built this Sporting team up. Because he didn't just... Is that it there? Yeah, that's it there. He didn't just walk into a Sporting team that was top of the table, that was the cream of the crop. He walked into a Sporting Lisbon team that hadn't won the Portuguese title in nearly 20 years. And he actually walked into a Sporting Lisbon team here, pretty much at the lowest of the low. So this here is a chart from The Athletic that's sort of the club ranking in terms of how successful they are compared to all teams in Europe. You can see here when he came in. Well, that's annoying. Screen brush. Thank you very much. The trajectory was down here. But look at what happened underneath Amorim. And I think, for me, that's definitely a differential, if you want to call it that, between Eric Ten Hag and now, of course, I don't think Ajax have won the title in a few years under Ten Hag, but it's Ajax. Ajax are the team. when he went to Sporting, and by the way, Sporting Lisbon paid a huge release clause for him. I think 10 million euros back in 2018. It was one of the most expensive ever hires. But I think that should not comfort a lot of United fans. I think that's a very important aspect to understand. When he went to Sporting, they were not the dominant team that you now see at the top of the Portuguese league with, 9 games played and 30 goals scored and 2 goals conceded. When he went in, he was the one that changed the trajectory of that football club. So I think that's part of his reputation. Tactically, look, as I said, I'll cover it briefly here today. Well, not today. I'll cover it briefly in the live show here, but I'm going to be doing far more of an in-depth video later. And this is going to be the standard sort of system and setup in possession for Ruben Amorim. You've got your 3 centre-backs over here. Let me pull that over there. Right, you've got your 3 centre-backs. 1, 2, 3. You've got your staggered midfielders there. And you've got your wing-backs who are holding the width. And you've got your front 3. 1, 2, 3. All right? That's the standard shape. Now, out of possession, very much dropping into that system there. You've got 5 at the back. You've got your 3 centre-backs. Your wing-backs have dropped back. The 2 in midfield are holding their shape, and your front 3 are holding their shape. This, therefore, allows any one of these, more likely this one, you could see a centre-back pressing and being aggressive there, or being aggressive there, safe in the knowledge that there's 1 man covering, 2 man covering, and 3 men covering. Manchester United, ladies and gents, are going to be switching to a 3 at the back system. Willem, you're saying you've always wanted to see United playing a back 3. And when you look at it, people are going to say, United they just wasted another 200 million signing players for another manager that they've decided to sack and get rid of. And I'll be totally honest, I think that's quite wide of the mark. No, Bruno didn't play under Amorim. I believe he left a few months before he came in. But if I look back at the summer transfer window and I look at Lenny Yoro, slots into this system perfectly. I look at Manuel Ugarte. Well, you know full well that Ugarte thrived under Amorim. Clearly, that will work. And I'm not even sure if Eric Ten Hag wanted Ugarte. Sometimes there's like speculation and reputations about the fact that clubs sign players that managers don't want. I think if Eric Ten Hag had his way, he would have chosen to keep Scott McTominay. I don't think he wanted to get rid of him. I think he made that abundantly clear. But United will be switching to a back 3. Now, I would have concerns about our wing-backs. I would say if I'm going to choose where the weakness is, probably in a Ruben Amorim Manchester United with the current squad, I would say it's the wing-backs. Now, Dalot would probably suit that role quite well. Left wing-back, Harry Amas could really suit it. You could see Alvaro Fernandes come back as well. What about the wingers? Are they going to cut inside? We'll find out. It's not a perfect squad. But anyway, moving down here. Number 3, right, communication. This is going to be a big one, all right? So these comments here are from, what's his name? Vasco Seabra, who is a former head coach of Estoril, who are Sporting Lisbon's neighbours. And he knows Ruben Amorim well. And this is what he said about his communication. And for a lot of United fans, and I can only speak for myself here, I suppose, I felt that communication of Eric Ten Hag's communication, there must have been a breakdown there somewhere in him not being able to get everything that he wanted across to the players. So hearing this is good. This is what he said, Seabra. I think he wins a lot with his communication. It is really good. His message is clear. It's easy to understand. The players connect with him easily. Even on the outside, for the reporters and the public, it is really simple and concrete. And he has this positive mindset, a good mentality. He has created a good connection between him and the players and also with the president. He is always straight with the players and even with the press. He is a straight person. Now, again, that part there may well be something that you reflect on, you compare to Eric Ten Hag when he came in, because he was quite honest and quite straight. But there was always a slight breakdown in communication. I think so anyway. So that's why that bit there really excites me. And that's something that I'm personally going to be doing a lot more research into. I will do that top level video on tactics that will go out today, just so you can understand the basics of the Amorim system, how he plays in and out of possession, and where United's players can fit into it. I'm more interested in finding a lot more out about his mentality, his approach with players, of course, his approach with youth. Now, when it comes to Amorim and his record at Sporting Lisbon, you can look at the squad right now with Gonçalo Inácio. You can look at Mendes, who left and joined PSG. You can look at Nunes, who joined as well. Diamande, who's also been brought through. He has a great reputation at building young players up. And I believe Sporting Lisbon have got one of the youngest squads. So that, of course, will fit in. And right now, Manchester United, I know our academy has always been the core of our football club. And that won't ever change. But if I compare the quality, for example, if I compare the quality of the players in Manchester United's academy right now to, say, for example, Louis van Gaal, just roughly 10 years ago, 9 or 10 years ago, and I compare the quality of the players, it is night and day. We're talking about Donald Love, Paddy McNair, Tyler Blackett, Cameron Borthwick-Jackson coming through under Louis van Gaal, to an under-18s which won the treble last year, signed Chido Obi-Martin, have got Sekou Kone coming through, Ibrahimov, Lacey, and then you could go for Harry and Mass. You could look at Ethan Wheatley if you wanted to. You can look at Jack and Tyler Fletcher. You can look at Dan Armour as a centre-back. You can look at Eli Harrison as a goalkeeper. I'm telling you, and this isn't, I swear on my life, this isn't overhype. The academy is just, if it's managed correctly, you really are looking at every year for the next 5-6 years, there really should be like a top level, like a graduate coming into the team. I think so from the academy. One per year. And that's an outrageous thing if that's possible. And I really, really think it is. And Amorim does have a reputation of doing that. And of course, I can see down there in the comments. Now, this is not an exhaustive list as to why he was brought in. Okay? This is just this is offering you some insight, as much insight as I possibly can in a short frame of time. And I've got it down there as that number 5, that building ability. The fact that he went to Sporting Lisbon and in his first full season in charge, he won their first title in 20 years and changed the power status quo in a country where Benfica and Porto were dominant. That is a big thing for me, as is the communication, as is his tactics. Now, of course, he does have tactical flexibility, especially in Europe. And I'll run through that in a little bit more detail later on. But Ruben Amorim, I can understand the excitement. I can understand why United have gone for him. And look, it's not accepted yet. It's not a done deal yet. But Man United are working on the deal. The release clause is roughly 10 million euros, and Amorim has agreed to join Manchester United. So from Amorim's side, yep, I'm ready. I'm ready to go now. It's just we are at the point of club communications. So it's Man United speaking with Sporting Lisbon and agreeing on A, how much that release clause is, and B, when he can leave. They're the two variables, and that's going to be the conversations that Man United are having with Ruben Amorim. What's your take on it all? I'm going to try and read some of your comments out down here. I think naturally there's part of me which is a little bit pessimistic because some of the characteristics I see in Amorim, I was so excited about Ten Hag, and I've been burned once before, so part of me will be hesitant with that. However, I think it would be unfair just to say that Amorim is just another Ten Hag and United are just repeating patterns and that trying to suggest that there aren't any differences. Because there are. I've just explained some of them there, and I would explain some more of them in the lunchtime video as well. Matt, you think it's a bad choice? Well, why do you think it's a bad choice? Put more down there in the comment. I'm going to go up here. I think I missed some super chats. Would you rather he comes in as soon as possible or next season, says Yanni? Truth be told, we're 7 points off the top 4. The Europa League is more than salvageable given the games that we have got left. This season is far from done. And I think this squad largely does actually fit into his system quite well. I don't think it'll be like a horrible season of transition if Amorim was to come in, for example, for the Ipswich game. I don't think that we would be like, oh my God, that player can't play there or that player can't play there. There'll be a few that you'd have question marks in, but largely that squad would suit that system. Matt, you're saying, is it just me or does it seem like this is moving faster than we're used to? And it is, of course. It was only yesterday we were talking about Ten Hag being sacked and Van Nistelrooy coming in as interim manager. And the fact that United have just pulled the trigger on a plan that they've been working on in the background for a while. They just waited for the tipping point. And for United, the tipping point was West Ham. And maybe it's because they said, well, West Ham, get Ruud in as interim because that's now 4 home games in a row. That therefore gives him time and probably right environment as an interim manager. And he should be able to do quite well with those whilst we now negotiate to try and bring in Ruben Amorim. That's probably how they approached it. T87 is saying, do you think he will want to leave Sporting before they play City and Arsenal in the Champions League? He also said he wanted to win back-to-back. Amorim's given the green light, dude. Amorim's given the thumbs up. As long as he gets the blessing from Sporting Lisbon, he wants to move. So I don't really think there's too much on that side of things. It's all down to A, how much United will pay in the release clause and the payment terms over that, and B, when United will try and bring him in. Let me see what you're saying down here. MA, you're saying, personally, I think we're back in the title race. Well, that might be a little bit excited, let's be completely honest. Paul, you're saying Gary Neville was talking about exactly the 3 at the back suiting United players we have. I had a video planned on that like 3-4 weeks ago, but just all the chaos, I never got it done. I said it would be an interesting conversation to have about United playing 3 at the back. Would he live in the Lowry? I don't know. Let me go and quickly ask him. Cedric saying, I've been burnt one too many times. Let's see if the actions speak louder than words. And of course, that will be proof in the pudding, of course. But I have to say, Ruben Amorim does not... A couple of things. Ruben Amorim does not strike me as a panic appointment. Like, not even in the slightest. If you really want to talk about panic appointments, you could say Xavi. Somebody who is out of a job, has managed a top-level club. It might work. It probably wouldn't work. But let's do it anyway. That, for me, would be a panic appointment. But going after a manager who is in a job, has a release clause. This is Man United doing their due diligence and choosing who they want. This is INEOS' choice as the man to lead their project. They chose to give Eric Ten Hag another chance to prove himself. Given the turbulent injuries last season, given the fact that we didn't have Barada in, we didn't have Ashworth in, they felt that it was the right decision, having spoken to about 9 managers. And Akash, I completely think that will absolutely be the case, that this appointment is data-led. It really, really is. And I don't think that would be an abysmal and terrible decision. Because so many people are upset that football, modern football changes, right? But modern football, data is huge. And Man United have been behind with that when it comes to the use of data. Now, I'm not saying that data is, you just use data and don't use you need the combination of data and the eye test, right? It's both things combined. But by using data, you do take out part of the human and the emotion and the connection to it. And maybe that's what United have been doing wrong. Maybe that's what United haven't done so far. And that's what United have done now with this Ruben Amorim situation. Let me see what's going on here in the comments, right? Right. Okay, so we've got some more updates, I think, coming from the Telegraph, and this is literally happening as we talk. I imagine we might be going live a little bit later today as well, if I'm being totally honest. Right. Oh, God. So this is coming from Jason Burt and from the Telegraph. Let's run through it. Ruben Amorim is pushing for the Manchester United move. Amorim has made it clear he wants to leave Sporting Lisbon, but United must reach an agreement with him on personal terms. Ruben Amorim is pushing to leave Sporting, with the Portuguese club now resigned to losing their highly regarded head coach to join United. A deal has not yet been fully agreed, but Amorim has made it clear to Sporting he wants to leave and succeed Eric Ten Hag. Does have a reputation for driving a hard bargain and can be demanding, with sources cautioning that talks have been held in the past with United without an agreement being reached. However, and again, this is now the third source that has said this, 10 million euros. Compensation fee it will take to release Amorim from his contract is not thought to be a problem. A greater issue may be financial demands and the make room of his backroom staff, but it is hoped it will not prove insurmountable. He emerged as a first choice after a series of talk in. So again, this was kind of a suggestion that Man United, well, clearly Man United have been doing this in the background for a while. This isn't something that Man United have randomly, sack Eric Ten Hag, let's go and try and get Ruben Amorim. And they're going to decide that in the space of 4 hours. Not at all. But the Telegraph just sort of doubling down on everything that we've covered here so far this morning. So this has gone from yesterday with David Ornstein saying United are working on a deal to this morning with Fabrizio Romano saying he has given the green light to join United, to the Telegraph now saying that he is pushing for that United move. Now, Andy McKinney, I've seen and I've read a bit about that, about his use with data and Sporting's injury history. I'll do a bit more research for that, and that will come out in the lunchtime video today. It has been a busy 24 hours. Let me see what else is being reported. Right. Okay. Right. Yeah, we're bang up to date on this. Now, let me go down here and read some of your comments. Motto, you're saying Ruud's not leaving. My personal prediction would be that he would, but let's find out. Will he bring his own staff and coaches? Typically, that's what happens when managers are brought in. They come with the staff and the coaches that they've built and they've worked with at the club that they are coming from. That's kind of par for the course. It's not impossible that Ruud van Nistelrooy was to stay, or Andreas Georgesson, or Van Ruelaar, who's the new goalkeeping coach. But if I'm Ruben Amorim, I want to bring in the coaches that I know, that I've worked with, that I've built relationships with, not the ones that you've already got at your club. That's typical, but I'm not saying it's impossible. Stevie Legend, thank you very much for gifting 10 memberships. I think somebody gifted a couple up there early, and I might have missed them. Let me quickly go back here. It was Matt Giant. Sorry about that, dude. Thank you for gifting some too, man. All of you this morning. Legends. It's a busy show. It's a busy couple of days. Stevie saying, I'd love Ruud to stay, and I'm sure lots of United fans would love Ruud to stay. And maybe he would. I don't know. I just personally don't think so. That would be sad. King, could you do a documentary of the decade after Fergie sometime? That's like football purgatory. Do I have to go back and no? I don't want to do that. Sod that. Eugene Sam, with Amorim coming, we'll increase the scouting prospects from Portugal. Well, let's be honest. Portugal nail it when they do the approach in the South American market. For sure they do. Takeoff is saying, guess we will start seeing both Xerxes and Højlund in the same starting 11. Well, I spoke about this yesterday, got the team wrong, because I was like, Xerxes played at Atalanta before, and he knows the back three. No, he played at Bologna, and he played in the back three. So Xerxes operated inside a system which Amorim uses. This system here, right? He knows how to play in that system. He's used that system. Did Atalanta play a back three as well when Højlund was there? I think they did. I'm sure they had wing-back system. Rene Hake? No, I would definitely don't think Rene Hake would stay. And you're probably right saying that he has to keep someone to help him navigate United. You're right in saying that it was Moyes' mistake, but remember this. Moyes, above Moyes, who did he have to look at and speak to? Oh, Ed Woodward. Oh, great. Hey, thanks very much. You're going to help me. Ruben Amorim has a sporting director, a technical director, a CEO. He has everything above him from a support network perspective. So I don't think the requirement to keep somebody on the existing staff is as big as it was for David Moyes, and that was a big mistake that he made. Lamines Barca, well, I don't know what you're doing here. Second of all, you're saying, if he signs Gyökeres, would you be happy with it? I mean, why wouldn't you be happy with it? First of all. Second of all, you can't really... Højlund. I would definitely say that Højlund is one to watch under. There's a few players that I would be excited about, but I think Højlund is really, really one of them. He's got all the potential. Just needs the right environment and the right team. He scored 16 goals last year. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Atalanta played 3 at the back as well. So that's Højlund who's played in the back 3 system. That's Xerxes who's played in the back 3 system. That's Ugarte who's played underneath Ruben Amorim. That back 3 of De Ligt, Martinez, and Yoro, I mean, that fits like a glove. The weakness, I think, exists in terms of the wingers. But hey, maybe you'd see him play Ahmad as a winger. I need to look into that in terms of how, because of course, Jeremy Frimpong, those rumours are going to come back now. Absolutely expect that. But he's more of a winger in the Leverkusen system than an actual right back. Same as Grimaldo on the left-hand side. Anthony, the left wing back. Can we just left wing him back to Ajax instead? I'd rather that. No offense, mate. Look, Amorim would have been in my top 3. I think Nagelsmann would have been there. I said this in my video saying Nagelsmann would have been in my top 3. Amorim would have been in my top 3. And I don't know who the third one would have been. I can understand why United have gone for him. Why United have plucked him out from a list. And they've chosen him as their first choice. They haven't gone for the easy option of getting someone who's out of contract. Haven't gone for the less risky option, you might say, of someone with Premier League experience. They've done their research. They've got the data together. They've looked at all the managers available. And let's be honest, INEOS spoke to how many managers pre the FA Cup final? They already talked with Poch before he went to US men's national team. They already spoke with, briefly, I think, with Nagelsmann. Thomas Tuchel, of course. Thomas Frank, they had conversations with. Kieran McKenna was assessed as an option. So this isn't something that INEOS have done on a whim. All right, is the point I'm trying to make here. Spoke to enough managers, and they've chosen Ruben Amorim. I'm excited to do the videos at lunch. We're going to have a busy day. We've also got the starting 11 for the Leicester game going out. Ruud van Nistelrooy's first game in charge. I'm looking forward to that. Jonathan is saying he won't pussyfoot around our centre forwards. You score or you're out. That's one thing I can tell you to absolutely expect with Ruben Amorim, right? He won't pussyfoot around with anybody. You know how Manchester United, we've had passengers in this team. We have passengers in games. And from game by game, it was one of the most infuriating things to watch under Eric Ten Hag. Is how can you possibly work as little as that and get away with it? And then the next game, oh look, great, you've got a fantastic work rate. Where's the difference? Like, you choose which games you're up for. That won't happen under Ruben Amorim. Aggression and like a fully committed team, two of the absolute fundamentals and the fundamental principles of Amorim's style. They are a very aggressive team. They are a dynamic team that moves. It's not a static team with a slow tempo of play. It's kind of full tilt. And there won't be passengers at Manchester United under Ruben Amorim. That's a guarantee. And that is going to force some players out of the club. There will be players that have to really raise their levels to get there. And those ones that have to really raise their levels, I would question whether they're right for the club. Eriksen and Casemiro, I'm not saying it about the levels, but the age that they are at, they will not be able to operate inside a system as dynamic as that. And they will both be replaced in the summer with younger versions. That's all. It's just an age thing. That's all. It will be a handshake and both of them leaving. Captain T1 saying Amorim could have joined West Ham in the summer. United must have had Amorim as a contingency plan should Ten Hag fail. Yeah, he was on the verge of joining. Didn't he fly? I swear he flew into London and then something collapsed. I think it was probably the same reason why the Liverpool deal collapsed. I think it was around the release clause. It must have just been more expensive in the summer. Maybe it was more expensive for certain clubs as well. Akash, you're saying we said the exact same thing when Ten Hag came in. What, in terms of the aggression and everybody playing collectively? I don't think I was as effusive on that with Ten Hag as I would be about Amorim. I mean, if I was to really just deep dive into the tactics and focus purely on that, then I think there's a lot of comparisons between the philosophy that I was excited about Ten Hag bringing in and why I would be excited about him playing 3 at the back. And that's what I said. If I was to suggest something to all of you, focus on researching and finding out more about Amorim and his personality and what he does away from just the tactics. Because I think if you just go head first into the tactics and you focus on that, then you're probably just going to draw loads of comparisons to Ten Hag. Not because of the style, but because it will be a system that you get excited about. And you go, well, it's going to happen again. What are we saying down here? Sporting overwhelmed Arsenal. They are not a small team whatsoever. Deja vu, says Jiu-Jitsu. Hey, look, United fans, we are burned right now because of what's just happened with this. Okay? I was so excited when Eric Ten Hag came in. I remember the videos that I did. I remember Ralf Rangnick coming in as the interim coach and how I felt that Ten Hag was the right choice, the best choice, and the number one choice for me. And I remember researching and looking into his philosophy and comparing what he said about what he did at Ajax and what players said about him. And it didn't work out. And I want to quickly say here, right, because of the way that things have rapidly moved in this last 24 hours. Now, yesterday at 11:50, so less than 24 hours ago, we were here having a conversation after Manchester United announced that Eric Ten Hag was sacked. And that was our live show in the afternoon. And then only 5 hours later, we're hearing about Ruben Amorim coming in as manager. Now, the first thing I want to say here is I want to have a couple of minutes here to talk about Eric Ten Hag. So these are just a few goodbye messages from some players. As Martinez saying, thank you for the trust you placed in me. It's not the ending we hoped for, and we're really feeling it because responsibility is shared. Good luck and every success in the future. Garnacho saying, look, it hasn't gone as well as we wanted, but I will remember the good times we had together, and I wish you all the best in the future. Kobe Mainu saying, thank you for your trust and belief in me and for giving me the opportunity to play for my boyhood club. Bruno Fernandes saying, thanks for everything. I appreciate the trust and the moments we shared. And I thought this was a nice one as well. Willie Cambuala saying, every time I remember my first minutes as a professional, I remember that you are the one who trusted me. Opportunities after opportunities, you have allowed me to live experiences that I dreamed of as a child. Thank you for everything, coach, and good luck in the future. I thought that was a really nice one. And I'll tell you what we're going to be doing on it. We're going to do a little Instagram post later. You can check those out. There were some fucking great moments under Eric Ten Hag. From the bigger moments like the Newcastle League Cup final or winning the FA Cup and beating City and the Ahmad goal to maybe slightly lesser remembered moments like in that first season when we beat Spurs. Remember that game? That was like a dominant United. That was the first time I looked at it and I go, there you go, that's the blueprint right there. To the Barcelona game, to the Villa comeback, Brentford comeback, Kobe Mainoo's goal away at Wolves. It's Ten Hag had a lot of moments. Unfortunately, he didn't have the sustainability and the consistency that was required. Okay? But it's just nice. And to see so many United fans sending goodbye messages. And I tell you what, this pissed me off. Man, what is De Gea doing, man? I don't care what you say. Eric Ten Hag got rid of De Gea at the right time. There's no way that Manchester United were going to give him a new contract. So therefore, De Gea was leaving. All right? And it's a bit childish from De Gea, man. Disappointing if I'm being completely honest. But yeah. I think Ten Hag will be remembered for chaos. There was never a dull moment. And yeah, unfortunately for him, a lot of that chaos was in the wrong direction. Anyway, Ruud's gone. Ruud's gone. Eric Ten Hag is gone. And Ruud is in. And Ruud is in as interim manager. Now, I've already recorded the starting 11 video, and I'm excited for that Leicester game. I don't know how many games Ruud is going to get. If I was to guess, I've already said this, I think he'll get 4 games. I think he'll get Leicester in the Cup, Chelsea at the weekend, PAOK in the Europa League, and then Leicester in the league. Luke Stevenson, taking the bait there, Sam. You don't even know the context from De Gea. Yeah, sure. All right, Luke. Yeah, right. So he's just doing a cryptic tweet an hour and a half after the manager is sacked. Sure. It's our fault for interpreting it wrong. He knows exactly what he's doing. Putting the pin out of a grenade, throwing it in there, laughing and walking away. That's exactly what that is. But Ruud walking out as United boss tomorrow in the dugout. It's going to be a good moment. It should be a fun game against Leicester. It's a cup game. It's a game of, let's be honest, no real consequence. The League Cup, winning the League Cup, it's not really going to change our season. It's not going to be the definer of our season. So it should be fun. And I reckon there'll be changes. I'll run through my starting 11 when the video comes out. Highway, you're saying that Amorim will get a home game first. Nah, I personally think it'll be Ipswich away, but we'll find out. And let me see what else you're saying down here in the comments. Ruben Amorim having to deal with the prima donnas such as Rashford will lead us into the exact same movie we've seen countless times before. I think there's going to be a few casualties, if I'm honest. And I think a lot of people will be happy about that. Marcus Rashford simply hasn't performed to the levels that he is more than capable of for a year and a half now. After that great season where he scored, 30 goals? And if Rashford is a passenger, Rashford will be moved on by Ruben Amorim. I don't think there'll be any player. That's a lie. There'll be a few players. Like Ugarte, you know Ugarte is going to be safe. You know that Amorim will love to have Ugarte back. And they're going to work brilliantly. I think Bruno will slot in there and work brilliantly as well. There's some players that you would have guarantees for, and there's some players I would have questions about. But Amorim will not take any passengers just because of any reputation that preceded them at Manchester United. And that's something that he's built. That reputation is something that he has built in terms of his man management. His ability to bring through young players. Eric Ten Hag had that ability as well, and I think he did that very well with Mainu, with Garnacho, and with some other players too. It wasn't perfect, but I'm excited about Amorim. Was I excited about Ten Hag? Yeah, I was. But I do think there are facets to his management and his career path to date which differentiates him from Ten Hag. And I go back to that point. I think for me, that's probably one of the most important ones. The fact that he walked into a Sporting Lisbon team that was down in the dumps, that hadn't won the league in 20 years, and in his first full season in charge, he won the league. And now, Ajax may not have won the title in a couple of years until Eric Ten Hag came in, so he revitalised it, but Ajax are Ajax. It's Ajax and Feyenoord. Yeah, PSV, I suppose you can put that in the same one. And let me see what else you're saying down here in the comments about Ruben Amorim and everything. Anthony is done. No one else will have the patience Eric Ten Hag showed. I agree with that. Mike saying Ruud's successes over the next few games could determine whether Amorim sees him as a potential fit for his team. I don't personally think that at all. I think the point goes back to what Ant said earlier. If Amorim feels that keeping a connection with Manchester United would make his job as manager better and easier, then I think Ruud van Nistelrooy will stay as an assistant manager. But if he feels like he doesn't need that because of the support network he's got above him in Barada, in Ashworth, and in Wilcox, then I don't think Ruud van Nistelrooy stays. I don't think it will have anything to do with whether we beat Leicester or whether we beat Chelsea. I think it's whether he feels he needs to keep that connection to United and whether that would help him or not. Apno, you're saying Amorim could be the first casualty if INEOS isn't careful to take responsibility now that the scapegoat is gone. The manager is their appointment now. Yep, that's a fair point there. As I said, this is their man. They've already laid out the plan. Project 150? On the 150th anniversary of the foundation of Manchester United, the club want to win the league by 2028. That's the ambition. And Amorim is the man that the INEOS have chosen to try and fulfill that ambition. That's a very quick turnaround, I suppose. Adam saying, hi Sam, where do you see Bruno in an Amorim system? I think that's one of the simplest ones to choose, really, right? Bruno Fernandes would be one of these. These are the two attacking midfielders, right? Let's quickly go back to the tactics here. These two attacking midfielders, they invert inside. They occupy these spaces here, right? That's where he'll play. You've got your wing-backs who are going to offer the width. Wrong one there. Your wing-backs, let's go full screen on this. Wing-backs are down here offering the width. Your number 9, who's going to be Rasmus Højlund, he stays central. He runs down there because you're going to be looking at balls in from the wing-backs. And you're also going to be looking at through balls coming from your two attacking midfielders. Bruno slots in to be one of those attacking midfielders brilliantly. And, in my opinion, that system there is where you really can get the most out of Bruno because, look, you've got 1, 2. You have a defensive shape behind Bruno. Bruno's problem was inside that system where it was 1 number 6, 2 number 8s. Whenever Bruno lost the ball, you've got 1 midfielder behind him covering tons of space. And there was too much ground. And Bruno then ended up tracking back, doing a lot of man marking, pressing, pulled out of position. Wasn't in the right place at the right time. Where does Rashford fit into that, says Wesley? Well, if Rashford does fit into it, again, it's going to be one of these roles. That there is where United are going to kind of be stacked on paper in terms of options, because you're going to have Bruno as one of those options, Mason Mount as one of those options, Alejandro Garnacho, Marcus Rashford, and Ahmad. That's 5 options there who really could all play in those roles. And whether or not, well, it's going to be interesting to see that. Could you see Rashford playing as a wing-back? I mean, in theory, you could. But I very much doubt that. Do you think you could see Rashford as a wing-back in a system like this? Nah, I don't think you could. I don't think Rashford could be trusted to actually operate as a wing-back and actually defend in that sense. It's not a perfect squad. Xerxes is quite obvious. Xerxes is another one there. So you've got Xerxes, you've got Bruno, Mount, Ahmad, Garnacho, and Rashford. That's 6 players for these 2 positions. That's a big squad. A big, big squad. Does Bruno keep the captaincy? I mean, I don't particularly know, if I'm being totally honest. Right. Let me see what else you're saying in the comments. As I said, I'm not going to mention the tactics anymore. I'm going to leave that for the video. It's going to come out roughly at 5 or 6 p.m. tonight. JS, you're saying, due to the fact that Amorim plays a diamond, it'll be interesting to see who he plays in the centre-back positions because Lindelof is crap and squad depth is bad. Well, you know full well what it would be. It would be... Is it a diamond? It's a 3-4-3. It depends. You can look at that as a diamond if you want. It's Martinez on the left, De Ligt in the middle, and it's Euro on the right-hand side. In terms of depth, you could... Well, Maguire would actually operate quite well inside that system, if I'm being totally honest. And he'd have more protection because he'd have more defenders around him and wing-backs there as well. Could happen. But I think Maguire might be sold in the summer. And Lindelof will definitely be sold. So I think you definitely need... to sign a centre-back. Someone who can defend the channels. Maybe someone like Jared Branthwaite. I mean, Branthwaite would be perfect inside that system. Treasy saying, oh dear Sam, you definitely dialed out on Rashford. I haven't dialed out of Rashford. I look at this system, and in my opinion, the best Marcus Rashford is somebody who hugs the touchline, who drags a defender wide and then has the ability to run at a defender at pace. And inside an Amorim system, the role that gets that would be the wing-back. And you're not going to see him play wing-back. So you're going to see Rashford tuck inside as like an inverted winger. Now, I'm not saying that that's impossible for Marcus Rashford, but in my opinion, the best part of Rashford's game is when Rashford creates separation between him and a defender, and he's got that. When Rashford has that, and he's one-on-one with the defender, and he's got movement with him, that's when he skips past players. If you drop Marcus Rashford into that position there, and he's only got a couple of yards and he turns around, I don't think that is naturally where you get the best out of Marcus Rashford. So we'll see. Garnacho as a wing back. I don't want to put Garnacho or Rashford. You know how sometimes you can say, well, oh, that's the best 11 on paper. That's not the best team. If anybody starts talking about Garnacho at wing back or Rashford at wing back, I think that's an exact example of just putting your best 11 players on paper because they're your best 11 players rather than it being your best team. Wing backs I'd have concerns about with Amorim. But there's so much more that we need to discuss. We're going to have, if I was to sort of explain to you what's coming here on the channel. Lunchtime today, I'm going to do a little bit more in-depth video and my opinion as to why I think United have chosen Ruben Amorim. At 5 o'clock today then, 5 or 6 we're aiming for, going to do a how Man United can set up underneath Ruben Amorim video, where we're going to take a look at his sporting system and the 11, and we're going to drop United players into it and say, this is how it looks like they'd set up. Here are the strengths and here are the weaknesses. That's what's going to be coming out later on today. And also, I might drop it today, I might drop it tomorrow, but we'll figure out the best time to do it. I'm going to be doing my starting 11 video for the Leicester game and Van Nistelrooy's first game in charge. What a 24 hours. All right, we've gone from Eric Ten Hag being sacked to Man United pretty much agreeing a deal for Ruben Amorim. And can I ask you now, if there's plenty of you watching and maybe some of you haven't subscribed to United People's TV, can you please consider it? Join the community. I really love this community and I love being able to do what I do. And I'm going to spend as much time as I possibly can today researching and bringing you, hopefully, some high quality videos. All right. JS, you're saying Amorim is an excellent disciplinarian, plays a very tight, compact formation. People might not like, people mayn't, and the formation is different, but he plays like Slot. Now, if you think about this, as I've already mentioned this earlier, but Slot wouldn't be Liverpool manager if Liverpool and Sporting had agreed on the release clause. Ruben Amorim would already be the Liverpool manager. And remember that he was lined up by City as well. He's got a great reputation. I'm going to explain it more in today's lunchtime video. What we're saying down here. Oh yeah, thank you very much, Jiu-Jitsu. Susie's doing better. I showed her all the messages you sent in yesterday's live show. That was really nice of you. I don't really want to see Anthony as a wing back. No way, shape or form. Do you think that Rashford hasn't adapted his game enough this season? No, I don't think it's an adaptation with Marcus Rashford. It's just it's gone on so long that I can't really put my finger on it. I don't think there's any individual reason. I think prediction is next few games you're going to see a Rashford. You're probably going to see peak Rashford coming in these last few games. All right, cool. Thank you all for tuning in today. That was a wonderful show. I hope you enjoyed it. Please do drop a like on the video. But Ruben Amorim, Man United have chosen him to be our new manager. INEOS have chosen him to be the front man for their project. It could well be, if INEOS get their way, you're going to see that man lift the Premier League title in the next 3 years. That's what they're going to be aiming for. Big up to all of you. You'll see me at lunchtime today and a little bit later on as well. Busy day ahead.